Hello friends. Last time we saw, while studying the story An Astrologer's Day, we saw the description of the shop of the astrologer, his get-up, his eyes, and how he attracted his customers. Then we saw the description of the market. We read about various vendors in the market, and then we also saw the very interesting fact about our this astrologer, that he was not knowing anything in the field of astrology. He was as new to astrology as his simple poor customers were. But he had his guesswork, he had his study of human beings' nature, and it was his honest labor. The business which he was running, it was an honest labor of him. This was the recap to our first part. Now we'll begin with the today's part. He has been a astrologer, had left his village without any uh, previous thought or plan. If he had continued there, he would have carried on the work of his forefathers, namely tilling the land, living, marrying, and ripening in his cornfield an ancestral home. But that was not to be. He had to leave home without telling anyone, and he could not rest till he left it behind a couple of 100 miles. To a villager, it is a great deal, as if an ocean flowered between. See, our this astrologer had left his village without telling it to anybody else. If he wouldn't have left his village, he would have done the same work his forefathers had been doing. He had to leave it, and he came 200 miles away from his village, and it was a great deal for a farmer, for a villager like him. He had a working analysis of mankind's troubles, marriage, money, and tangles of human ties. Long practice had sharpened his perception. Within 5 minutes, he understood what was wrong. See, when he had the study of mankind's nature, he had the study of their troubles, their marriage, their money, their tangles. All these things helped him to do his guesswork about his customers. He wouldn't take more than 5 minutes to understand the problems of his customers. And for that, he charged 3 pies per question. Never opened his mouth till the other had spoken for at least 10 minutes, which provided him enough stuff for a dozen of answers and advices. When he told the person before him, gazing at his palm, see, what he would do? He would make his customers talk first. And when they would talk for at least 10 minutes, and through their words, through their stories, he would understand the problems of his customers. And that's why he would make them talk for 10 minutes. This is the skill. This is the skill of him. This is the skill of every astrologer. You all may not be agree with me, but I just don't believe that there is some science behind this astrology. It is just an art. It is just an art to please people. Here, see what he was doing. In many ways, you are not gazing the palm of his customers, he used to say, in many ways, you are not getting the fullest result of your efforts. 9 out of 10 were disposed to agree with him. See, whenever he would say that you are not getting the fullest results of your efforts, and everybody of us thinks the same, that whatever we have been doing, we aren't getting the proper results of that of those efforts. Then he would question, is there any woman in your life, maybe even a distant relative, who is not well disposed towards you? By somehow means it happens with everybody else, that somebody stands against us, and he knew it, and the people would feel that he knew about them, or he gave an analysis of character. See how interesting this analysis of character is. Most of your troubles are due to your nature. How can you be otherwise with Saturn where he is? See, and everybody thinks that the troubles in his life are due to his nature, due to his good nature. In fact, everybody thinks that his goodness is always there to bring troubles for him. And when he would pronounce these words, they would feel pleased. Then he would say, you have an impetuous nature and a rough exterior. Everybody, see, these are the things, whatever he used to tell to his customers are the things which are there in every human being's nature. Every human being thinks in the same way, that he is impetuous, he is very tender, he is impulsive, but he has a rough exterior. He is rough by outward, but he is very kind, he is very polite, he is very beloved from inside. This ended, and when people would listen him talking about them in this way, this endeared him to their hearts immediately. They would feel comforted, they would get attracted more towards him. For even the mildest of us loves to think that he has a forbidden exterior. See, the same, that you have a rough exterior. Everybody thinks in the same way. The nuts vendor blew out his flare and rose to go home. This was a signal for the astrologer to bundle up too, since it left him in darkness except for a little shaft of green light which stayed in form somewhere and touched the ground before him. He picked up his cowrie shells and paraphernalia and was putting them back into his bag when the green shaft of light was bottled out. See, it was the time for him to go home. Even the nuts vendor had already bundled up his that shop and was about to go. This was also a signal for our astrologer that he should go home. So he started packing all his things which he had already spread there on the mat. All the small and needed things he started collecting. But at the same time, a person stood in front of him, and the light which was coming up to him from a distant shop, the light was blocked. He looked up and saw a man standing before him. He sensed a possible client and said, "You look so careworn. It'll do you good to sit down for a while and chat with me." See, this was his style. Whoever would come to him, he knew that he would come to him because he had some problems. So he used the same sentence in the very first encounter with the man, that he looked careworn and he wanted him to talk to him for a while so that his troubles would get lessened. The other grumbled some reply vaguely. The astrologer praised his invitation, whereupon the other thrust his palm under his nose, saying, You call yourself an astrologer? The man who was standing in front of him just put his hand in front of the astrologer and challenged him, saying that if he was an astrologer, the astrologer felt challenged and said, tilting the other's palm towards the green shaft of light. He just tilted his hand towards the light and peeped into his lines and said, Yours is a nature. He was going to say something. The same time, the man who had come to him said, Oh, stop that. Tell me something worthwhile. The man seemed very angry, agitated. And that's why he didn't want to listen anything which was useless. Our friend felt piqued. Our astrologer felt irritated seeing the behavior of the man. I charge only three pies per question, and what you get out to be good enough for your money. Only 3 pies per question, and that is very less amount he wanted to tell it to the man for a question of him. At this, the other withdrew his arm, took out an anna, and flung it out to him, saying, I have some questions to ask. If I prove you are bluffing, you must return that anna to me with interest. Bluffing does mean telling lie. See, here some words are written in italic, in slanting way. Anna, pie. These are the words from our Hindi language. The entire story is written in English, but when some words from Hindi or from any other language are used in a language, that is called code mixing. The writer is using this code mixing here. A story. Our astrologer told him that he would charge only 3 pies per question. So the man took out an anna and flung it to him, saying, I have some questions to ask. He was in the mood of challenge. He was challenging the astrologer. If I prove you are bluffing, you must return that anna to me with interest. And he wanted the astrologer to tell only the truth about his life to him. Otherwise, he would take back that anna and he would take some interest on that too. If you find my answers satisfactory, will you give me 5 rupees? Now, it's the turn of our astrologer to challenge the man. And he demanded that he should give him 5 rupees if all his answers would be correct. The man said, no. Or will you give me 8 annas? Now he just listened the amount and said, ask for 8 annas. All right, the man agreed, provided you give me twice as much if you are wrong. If he was supposed to give him 8 annas, and if the astrologer would be wrong while answering his questions, the man wanted him to return 16 annas. The pact was accepted after a little further argument. After a little bargaining, the deal was done in between these two persons. The astrologer sent up a prayer to heaven as the other lit a cheroot. And we have already come to know about our astrologer, that how much he knew in astrology. We have come to know that he knew nothing. He is very new. He is very unknown to this astrology. Still he was doing that business. So just to make a show, he just raised his hand towards heaven as if he was pleading the God, pleading the heaven to give him the power to tell uh, to tell about to tell the astrology of the man. And the man had lit his chirut. Chirut does mean bidi. The astrologer caught a glimpse of his face by the matchlight. When he was lighting his chirut, that time he lit a matchlight, and in the glimpse of that light, our astrologer saw the face of the man. There was a pause. As cars hooted on the road, Jutka drivers swore at their horses, and the babble of the crowd agitated the semi-darkness of the park. See, the same time when he saw the face of the man, there was some noise as a car hooted and a Jutka driver swore at his horses. There was some hustle and bustle on the road. The other sat down, sucking his chirut, puffing out, sat there ruthlessly. See, we know since the very beginning, this man who had come to the astrologer as a customer, as a customer to know about his life, was very rude since the very beginning, and now too he sat very ruthlessly in front of our astrologer. The astrologer felt very uncomfortable. Seeing the attitude of the man, the astrologer felt uncomfortable. Here, take your Anna back. I am not used to such challenges. It is late for me today. The astrologer, seeing the attitude of the man, was not ready to accept his challenge, and he offered him the 8 annas which the man had already given to him. The single anna. Their deal was for 8 annas. He made preparations to bundle up, and saying this, he was preparing to go home. The other held his wrist and said, "You can't get out of it now. You dragged me in while I'm passing." Now the man was not letting the astrologer to leave that pact, leave that deal. The deal, the deal to tell about his life, the fact of his life. The astrologer shivered in his grip, and his voice shook and became faint. "Leave me today. I will speak to you tomorrow." The other thrust his palm in his face and said, "Challenge is challenge. Go on." The man wasn't letting him go, as it was the pact, it was the challenge accepted by the astrologer. The astrologer proceeded with his throat drying up. "There is a woman," and he was hesitating. He was just trying to pass the time. That's why The man too guessed that he was just telling something which was not needed or which was not about his life. Stop, the man said in orderly manner. I don't want all that. Shall I succeed in my present search or not? Answer this and go. Otherwise, I will not let you go till you discharge all your coins. See, the man was in furious mood. He wasn't letting him go, and now he challenged him that if he wouldn't tell him the fact about his life, he would take out all his coins. The astrologer muttered a few incantations. Incantations does mean magical words. The meaning is already given just beside this highlighted word, incantation. And replied, all right, I will speak. But will you give me a rupee if what I say is convincing? See, now the astrologer accepted the challenge wholeheartedly, fully, and he wanted the man to give him 1 rupee for his convincing answers. For a convincing answer. For each answer he wanted to have 1 rupee. Otherwise, I will not open my mouth and you may do what you like. See, he too put his conditions that if he wouldn't give him 1 rupee for a correct answer, he wouldn't open his mouth. After a good deal of haggling, the other agreed. After their bargaining, haggling does mean bargaining. The meaning is given. The astrologer said, you were left dead. Am I right? Tell me more. The very first thing the astrologer told the man seemed it appealed the man. It seemed that the man's life story was like the same. It was his life story. Tell me more. A knife had passed through you once, said the astrologer. Good fellow. Once again he liked the answer. Once again he liked whatever the astrologer told him about his life, that he was left for dead and a knife had passed through him. Both the things were the fact of his life. Good fellow. The man who was very rude towards the astrologer, now it seems that it is proved to him that the astrologer really knows very much about his life. Good fellow, he bared his chest to show the scars. He just opened his chest and showed the scars of the knife on his chest. What else he said here? And then you were pushed into a well nearby in the field. You were left for dead. I should have the man. It was the story of the man's life. It seems. I felt you have been dead if some passerby. I should have been dead if some passerby had not chanced to peep into the well. Examine the other, overwhelmed by enthusiasm. The man was overwhelmed, knowing the things which had already happened in his life. He was overwhelmed. He was surprised. And had become very much enthusiastic to know more about his life. And he asked a question to the astrologer. When shall I get at him? He asked, clenching his fist, just clenching his fist like this. When shall I get at him? Astrologer told, in the next world, answered the astrologer. He died 4 months ago in a far off town. You will never see any more of him. The other groaned on hearing it. The astrologer proceeded. See, the astrologer told that the man for whom he was searching for was already dead 4 months ago in a far off town, and he would never meet him. He would never get the chance to take his revenge. The man felt sorry for that. The other groaned on hearing it. The astrologer proceeded. The astrologer was giving one after another shocks to the man who had challenged him. And now, this is the climax, that he pronounced his name. Guru Nanak, Guru Nayak, you know my name? Said the other, taken aback. He was surprised a lot, listening his name through the lips of the astrologer. As I know all other things, Guru Nayak, listen carefully to what I have to say. Your village is 2 days' journey due north of this town. Take the next train and be gone. I see once again great danger to your life if you go from home. He took out a pinch of sacred ash and held it to him. Rub it on your forehead and go home. Never travel southward again, and you will live to be 100. See, the astrologer told him that he should return to his village. He should not travel towards south direction because there was a trouble for his life. And putting sacred ash, a pinch of sacred ash on his hand, rubbed it on his forehead and wanted him to go home. I already told you that he warned him not to travel in the southward direction, and he would live for 100 years. Why should I leave home again? said the other reflectively. I was only going away now and then to look for him and to choke out his life if I met him. The man told our astrologer that he had left home just in the search of the man who tried to kill him. But now there was no reason left for him to leave his home, to leave his village. And so he would not return, he would not travel anywhere else when the man for whom he was searching for is already dead. He shook head regretfully. He had escaped my hands. I hope at least he died as he deserved. And he felt sorry that he couldn't take revenge on the man. But he wanted to know how the man died, whether he got the death as he deserved or not. Yes, said the astrologer. He was crushed under a lorry. The other looked gratified to hear it. Displeased the man's heart, knowing that the man who tried to kill him was crushed under a lorry. The place was, now the next part, the place was deserted by the time the astrologer picked up his articles and put them into his bag. The green shaft was also gone. The light had also gone. Leaving the place in darkness and silence, the stranger had gone off into the night after giving the astrologer a handful of coins. See, the man got pleased, knowing everything about his life, gave him handful of coins. It was nearly midnight when the astrologer reached home. His wife was waiting for him at the door and demanded an explanation. He flung the coins at her and said, "Count them." One man gave all that. 12.5 annas, she said, counting. She was overjoyed. She was overjoyed seeing these much coins in a day. "I can buy some jaggery and coconut tomorrow. The child has been asking for sweets for so many days. I will prepare some nice stuff for her." Their daughter was asking for sweets, and now having this much money, it was easy for her to cook the sweets for her daughter. Our astrologer: "The swine has cheated me. He promised me a rupee." A rupee should have been given to him, but it was not that much. So he just abused him, calling him swine. She looked up at him. "You look worried. What is wrong?" The astrologer said nothing. After dinner, sitting on the peol, he told her, "Do you know, a great load is gone from me today. I thought I had the blood of a man on my hands all these years. That was the reason why I ran away from home, settled here, and married you. He is alive." See, this is what the technique of the story is. Just to give a shock at the end of the story to the readers. This is the climax of the story. Now the entire story is revealed in front of us. That the man who had come to him and our astrologer himself had tried to kill the man who had come to him. And our astrologer had thrown him into the field for dead. The astrologer had taken it as if he had killed a man, and having this load on his mind and heart, he had left his village without telling it to anybody else, and he had run away from that village 200 miles away and had settled there in a far off town from his village. She gasped, "You tried to kill him?" "Yes. In our village, when I was a silly youngster, we drank, gambled, and quarreled badly one day." Why? Why think of it now? Time to sleep. Now the burden of our astrologer is also removed. He was in the great burden that he had killed a man. But now, when he saw that man, Guru Nayak, was alive, all his burden is relieved. And now he can sleep a peaceful sleep. He said, yawning, and stretched himself on the peol. And he just stretched and felt very much relaxed. And here the story ends. We saw this very wonderful story, and we saw how the writer, the master writer R.K. Narayan, has given a great treatment to the story. The very simple character of the astrologer and a very simple man who was in the search of the man who tried to kill him. They both came in front of each other. Still Guru Nayak couldn't identify that he was the same. He was the same who tried to kill him and giving him money and listening the things from him, listening the thing that the man who tried to murder him was already dead, he felt relaxed, and our astrologer too felt relaxed. His burden is relieved, and now he can lead a peaceful life. Thank you.